Welcome on into the Wildcats Today Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer and editor over at Wildcats Today, joined by my co-host, Carson Nash. Carson, I know it's Monday, but are you having a good day?
There's some excitement going on. I'm in Louisville right now, but the whole state has some buzz about it today. It truly does.
Yeah. It definitely does have a little bit of buzz, I'll tell you that. So, Kentucky takes down the Georgia Bulldogs 105-96. We're going to talk a little bit about how the score got to that point, which was a little crazy, but we'll get there. The topic that we have to talk about, of course, everyone knew we were going to lead with this. What Zvonimir Ivišić did in that game, what Big Z did in that game, I think people forget what it's like. No one knew what we had in Big Z. We didn't know. We had no idea what we had in Big Z. There's the 2-minute highlight tape of his European basketball league, but it's like, what does that mean? How does that translate? We had no idea. So, what I mean? We thought he was good. He could have been bad. He comes in and lights up the entire world. Carson's seats are within the vantage point where I can see I can see him from the press box. And I mean, you almost, what was it when he hit the fourth 3-pointer, which I know one of them was a 2, but we're going to pretend like it wasn't, that you almost decked a girl going into the eruption zone? When was that?
No. It was when he did the bet behind the back pass.
Behind the back pass. Yeah, Carson almost got a felony for trucking a young lady walking into the eruption zone, which would have been a bad look. But obviously that isn't the case. And now we just got to talk about what Big Z did. I mean, pull up the numbers here. Comes off the bench, plays 16 minutes, 5 for 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 13 points, and 3 blocks, and 2 steals.
In 16 minutes.
In 16 minutes in the debut of Big Z. And, it's funny. He's so new that ESPN has his name on the box score as Zivii. That's not his name.
That's not his name.
At the end of the day, that was special. And is he going to do that? And here's the deal. I was going to kind of make the point of, hey, let's manage expectations, because he's not going to do that every time. Maybe he is. I mean, we don't know what he is. Still, I mean, we saw what he can do. Now, here's the deal. One thing I believe in is a shooting stroke. That shooting stroke was beautiful. That, you know what I mean? It's undeniable. He is going to make shots if he keeps shooting the basketball like that. And plus, he's 7'14 and a half. I mean, he can literally, that was what was so funny, Carson. He would go to shoot. It didn't matter if someone came to contest it. He just shot over top of him. Who cares? So that was incredible to see. But Carson, I know we're going to discuss more about Big Z. Besides almost trucking a young lady, how did you feel about it? What are your thoughts on Big Z?
I was surprised by it, but I wasn't too surprised, because this kid was playing against pros. As much as we were tempered expectations by the coaching staff and by the media, this kid was playing against pros. And you got to look at the NBA right now. It's dominated by foreign players. Mm-hmm. Foreign players are taking over the league slowly but surely. So this kid is built for this. And it kind of came across as he came into the game and he was like, yeah, I'm better than you. He was just trying stuff. He knew he was so fluid, and he acted like he had been there before. Who does that? The first time they touched the ball, they attempt a behind the back pass. I don't know. It just seemed like he had been there and done that before, and he was comfortable in that situation.
And you know what was better than his performance, on the basketball court? When was the last time, Carson, that you saw in a debut a technical and a flagrant called? I mean, it was awful.
I have not seen one.
I haven't either. But all kidding aside, the technical, that's a lesson learned. He said in postgame, I didn't know you couldn't do that. Sorry, Coach Cal. I mean, really, I don't think he knew any better than that.
No.
In Europe, you can do whatever you want.
Same in the NBA.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not upset about that. Yes, if he did that, if that was a go-ahead dunk when we were, in and with a minute left in the game, I'd be a little frustrated with it, but obviously it didn't end up mattering. The flagrant made my day, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's call a spade a spade. Big Z isn't the biggest guy. You know what? Pause. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, he is height-wise. I'm talking about, weight. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not
He's
Shaq.
got some good size, though.
I agree with you, but he's not Shaq. He's not that, you know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
not
no.
7 foot.
Not
He's
to
still
that
a
extent.
lanky kind of guy.
No, yeah.
To me, he's more built than Aaron Bradshaw, muscle-wise. But my point I'm getting at here is that number 4, Dimery for Georgia, was trying to push him around and kind of being a little bit of a not so nice person to Big Z, hitting him. I still think it looked like
trying to trip him running up the court.
Yeah. And you know what Big Z did? He said, I'm not.
Elbow you in the face.
Well, you made it sound worse, Carson. You made it sound worse.
I love it, though. That's a dog.
I know.
That's a dog mentality.
We are not condoning flailing the elbows here at the Wildcats Today Podcast, but we are condoning is not letting people push you around.
Yeah, standing up for yourself. That sends a message.
That's what I love to see from Big Z. He wasn't afraid. This guy was trying to push him around, and he said, that ain't going to happen. And listen, Big Z is the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. So I was honestly, to be honest with you, I was a little worried about that. He's too nice. He's going to get pushed around. He's too nice. Not on the court, which is what you have to be. That's what you have to be. You can be the best guy in the world off the court, but when you're on the court and somebody pushes you, you're going to put them on the curb. I mean, it's reality. And that's what I love to see from that flagrant. So no, we are not condoning, flying knees and elbows here at the Wildcats Today Podcast. But what we are condoning is not letting yourself getting pushed around and being a dog. And that's what Big Z did in that moment. So, I mean, anything else from the, breakout of Big Z, Carson, that stood out? I know it's fun, I know it's exciting, but is there any takeaways for the rest of the season to you rather than just that moment?
I do think conditioning was an issue for him. He got very winded quick, but that'll subside because he'll get in practice more. He'll start getting better at that. I also do think what's huge for him, he has so much confidence already. Yeah. You could tell, what I was saying earlier, him just trying to do those things, expecting it to work. And most of it did. That spin move dunk, if he would have put that dude on a poster, I think Rupp would have collapsed.
Would you have actually then probably trucked somebody had that happened?
Okay, let's take it back on the trucking. She was in my way as much as I was in hers.
Oh yeah, we need to look at the tape on that. I'm calling a technical. We're blowing the whistle. We're gonna contact somebody. We're gonna really get the blocker charge. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. But
she wasn't too upset about it though. So
but at the end of the day, it was really cool to see. And listen, it's great to see that Big Z played a great basketball game for the Kentucky Wildcats because that's awesome. It is. But that young man has been through hell and back trying to get eligible to play basketball for this team. He's not at home. I mean, listen, this dude's from Croatia. I mean, it is not coming here doing this. It is not easy. And the fact that he had, and listen, we know he was having some, he wasn't doing well mentally. He wanted to go home. Coach could let him go home. He comes back. He's eligible. Good for this young man. That's what I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see that all he wanted to do was play basketball. All he wanted to do was go out there and wear that jersey, wear number 44, and play basketball for the University of Kentucky. And he did it, and he looked like a future NBA All-Star. I mean, that's what he did. So good for him is my point. All he wanted to do was hoop, and he got to hoop, and he's going to get to hoop for the rest of the season. And he might win a national championship if he does that every night. So, before we keep breaking down the game, Carson, I wrote an article today, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Something about this Kentucky team, and I've used the word special in reference to this Kentucky team a lot this year. And listen, in journalism, we've got hard-hitting topics, and I'll run numbers, and I can do all that. But sometimes I just got a feeling. You know what I mean? There's no numbers to this. There was no numbers with this article. There was no numbers to this. This is looking at this team. This is one of the closest Kentucky teams I think I've seen, at least in a while. the way that they interact with one another, they joke with one another. I'll see him at post game media. The little things. We went to go see, Antonio Reeves. We went to the bowling event after the game at Southland Lanes, which was really cool. Great event they put together over there at Southland Lanes. But it was really just cool. I mean, Antonio Reeves just out in the public with people, talking to kids, and when Big Z threw that pass behind the back and Reeves drained the three, and George called a timeout. What was the first thing you saw? Did you notice this, Carson?
Yeah, the bench mobbed him.
Because this team loves one another. And if you think that doesn't lead to wins, you're wrong.
It does.
You're wrong. I'll call a spade a spade. I don't think last year's team was that close. And I think you could make the same argument for the year before. And I think 2 years ago was a little, closer, but I just don't. I don't know how you can't look at this team and how they are as a unit and brothers. This team loves one another. This team loves Coach Cal. Coach Cal loves this team. He loves coaching them. That stuff matters when you're playing in road environments. That stuff matters when you're down 4 points with 6 minutes to go in the Elite Eight. That's when stuff like that matters. When you got a group of guys who has each other's back. And that's what this team is to me. So, Carson, do you feel that when you will see this team?
Yes. So you look at championship teams, and championship teams are able to set their egos aside,
yes,
and let their teammates' strengths overcome their own weaknesses. So everyone on the team has a matter, like they all matter. And you saw that, like Aaron Bradshaw could have been moping on the bench because he knew that Z coming back would take some of his minutes, but no, he was the first one off the bench, giving Z a hug, talking to him. It was just awesome to see. And we haven't felt that way probably since Monk or Fox. I was going to bring this up in today's podcast anyway, because I was thinking about it. This team has a special feeling that we haven't seen since them. But honestly, I would say even before that, probably 2015. I don't think Monk and Fox even got to this level of closeness. I think 2015 was the last time we've had a group this close.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a picture right here. You're not going to really be able to see it. I should have. You can you see that a little bit, Carson?
Yeah.
I took it. It's the three bigs before the game. It was Hugo in the middle with his arms around Big Z and Aaron. That unit especially, that the front court is the closest unit. Those three, I think, might get a house together when they're in the NBA. They are a close unit, Trey Mitchell included. And Burks is hilarious. They're all really, really close. And it's cool to see. So I'm with you on everything you said. And I do think it matters. Some might say it doesn't. I disagree with you if you're a person who thinks, they're basketball players. And I'll tell you something I saw in pregame warmups. Listen, Kentucky fans, I know I'm hard on Justin Edwards. Carson, I know you're hard on Justin Edwards. At the end of the day, he's still a kid,
I thought he played better last game.
I did too. Yeah, I thought he did some good things, but you got to remember what's going on with you. Let's be honest.
Mental health matters. Those kids are away from home.
Yeah,
it's a hard time being a college freshman. We were both there at one point.
Exactly. And one thing I saw, and we also weren't getting ripped by the entire continental United States every day. But my point is I watched Justin Edwards warmups, and he missed a shot in warmups, and it wasn't a pretty mess. And the first thing I saw, he was beating up on himself. He was yelling at himself a little bit. We've all been there. Carson, you and I played baseball together in high school. This is me. I used to throw stuff at walls when I had a bat.
Yeah, same.
And exactly. And so it's easy to be hard on yourself, and that's what Justin Edwards was doing. Then he went to the free throw line, and he was missing a couple free throws. And listen, we know Justin Edwards can make a free throw. It's between here was the issue. We all know that. And the first thing I saw, I saw two people come up to him. First was Rob Dillingham. And I couldn't hear the conversation. I did hear Justin Edwards kind of, yelling at himself. I was able to hear that. But I did not hear what Rob said to him. But, he pulled him, and, and he was talking to him. And then I saw Trey talking to him. I just think it shows me that stuff right there. Justin Edwards was supposed to be a top 5 pick. And
Cal did it too.
Yeah.
He was in the corner, and Cal came up and gave him like a pat on the butt and was like, "You got this, kid."
Yeah. Because here's the deal. He's not lived up to what he wants to be. We all know that. And his teammates have his back. And that's just so cool to see for me. And it speaks to what we just discussed. So I'm excited about this team, ladies and gentlemen. Carson, I know you're the same. And like I said, I can run through numbers, and we can talk about, obviously, defense has given. We will run through all that today. But I can't give you a real numbers or crazy hard-hitting journalism fact on why I feel this way. It's just I've been around sports my whole life, and something about this basketball team feels different. That's kind of my thought process. But back to the game, Carson. The last thing I want to talk about really here before we get into the South Carolina Gamecocks, what do you think happened in that, we were up 28 points with 8 minutes left in the game? Was it just, were they ready to go home with their 28-point win and Georgia started to make some shots? I was a little frustrated with that. Not like it mattered, and I knew it wouldn't matter in the end. We all knew they were going to win the game. But I do think it looked bad, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Carson.
Yeah, so what Georgia kind of did near the end of the game, they were kind of like sealing out our big man. Kind of looked like an illegal screen most of the time, but 54 was kind of just bulldozing his way in the paint, and they'd get easy layups because of it. And honestly, you just have to help on that and hope that they miss threes, because you can't just let them run straight down the Broadway and get a layup every time. But also, I do think partly I'm not the biggest fan of the stripes.
Yes.
I think the refs had a big part to do with the comeback. You got to think there was 2 technicals, one on Z, which was deserved, one on Cal, but the one on Cal was because the guy at the bottom of the baseline where I was sitting wouldn't make a call. Antonio Reeves got tackled on a 3, like getting the ball, and they didn't call anything, but they were calling touch fouls on the other end. So Cal was fed up. I thought he was going to get ejected. I've never seen Cal walk like almost out of the building. I thought Cal was gone, but I do think it was kind of a mix of everything. I feel like they wanted to be home too. Like they just wanted to mail it in. But my point is, so we had 96 points with 8 minutes left in the game. So they ended up finishing with 96. So we could have gone scoreless with the last 8 minutes and still went to overtime. So there's not much of a concern there, in my opinion. There's really not. The defense did have some lapses, but nothing too much to be concerned about. Our offense is just so much far and ahead of everyone else's. Yeah. It's not that much of a concern.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're not going to sit here and talk about that for 20 minutes like it's some big deal, because I just don't think it is. But, we'll run through some numbers, and then we'll get on to the South Carolina game. Trey Mitchell has 23, 8 of 10 from the field, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. DJ Wagner, I know you want to talk about DJ, Carson. DJ Wagner, first collegiate double-double, 18 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 2 of 3 from deep, 10 assists, a rebound. Reeves, just doing more Antonio Reeves things, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 to 12 from the field. Anyinso, 5 boards and 4 points. Love getting that from him. Reed had 12 points, 5 assists, and a rebound. And then Dillingham didn't have his best game, but that's going to happen. Here's the deal. That's what's so great about the Kentucky offense. Rob can have bad games, and still this team can be okay because you have so many guys who can score. But
not to mention, Rob and DJ can have bad games, but they impact so much by passing the ball and moving the ball that you can't notice that much.
Exactly. So, Carson, tell me what you wanted to say about DJ. But first, I want to add this. DJ Wagner did just get announced as the SEC Freshman of the Week, which is his 3rd time bringing home that honor. Good for DJ. Glad to see him continuing to win that when he deserves it. But, Carson, what did you want to say about DJ Wagner?
Yeah, so that's definitely well-deserved. What I have to say about DJ is just getting better and better and better. He is starting to live up to the hype of when he was the number 1 overall recruit. I know he dropped in the rankings a little later on in his high school days, but he's a killer. He can beat you off the dribble every time. They had to solely switch to a zone because of how many times he was beating his man off the dribble. And then when they went zone, it seemed like we went on a 30-0 run because you can't play zone versus this team. You just can't. Trey Mitchell in the middle of the zone. He's a great passer, great mid-range shooter. You can't play zone. If you play zone, you're going to get blown out.
If you get Trey the ball at the free throw line, you're already done. Yeah.
Yeah. because he can take you to the rim and make a post move on you. He can hit a fadeaway mid-range jumper, or he can dish it out to an open 3-point shot. So he can beat you every single way. And the fact of the matter is DJ's just so good at getting to the rim that a lot of teams are going to have to try and do that, because there's not many people that'll be able to stay in front of DJ and Antonio Reeves and Rob Dillingham. I just don't see any teams being able to stay in front of those three, because Reeves coming into his own, and he's looked so good at handling the ball this year. It's such a surprise. But I mean, he had a little bit of that bag last year, but this year is completely different. And I want to talk about that for a second too. He should be the player of the year for the SEC.
Yeah. Agreed.
He has another over 20-point game, and it's quiet, man. I mean, he scores 20, and you're just like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
Because it's so efficient in the flow of the game. And he's up to 19.5 points per game average. So I really do think there's a possibility of him averaging 20 throughout the season, which is nuts. And especially with this group of guys, because there's so many shots to go around and so many people averaging in double figures, that it's just crazy to believe that he might average 20 points.
I was
going
to say, because I know you talked about this. What frustrates me about Reeves, about his campaign, everybody keeps saying the Dalton Connect, and he's a great player. Watch Tennessee play. He is the offense.
Yeah.
They give him the ball and say, "Do your thing."
Mm-hmm.
He's shooting the ball. I mean, like, let's do that. Let's do that experiment. I want to just test real quick. How many times did he shoot the ball in his last game against Alabama? Let's see what he shot the ball. He shot the ball 20 times.
Yeah, Reeves did not do that.
So here you go. Here you go. Boom. Point case match. Wildcats Today podcast. Dalton Connect shot the ball 20 times, was 8 for 20 to score 25 points. 8 of 20, 25 points. Antonio Reeves was, drum roll as I pull back up the numbers here, which will be forever. Thank you. Antonio Reeves was 7 of 12 for 21 points. He had 4 less points on 8 less shots.
That's so efficient. I mean, how good is that? 7 of 12 for Seriously. 21 points. I mean, that is night and day difference from last year.
So then let's take that a step further. We'll do one more game for this thing. So against Mississippi State, Reeves has 27 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Okay. Now let's go to that game where Dalton Connect had 1,700 points. Which was this game. Yeah. He has 39 points. Now this was more efficient, but 39 points on 23 shots. 8 for 12. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to do math for y'all because that's going to be embarrassing. But what I do know is if you take 8 for 12 and you expand that to the 23 shots Connect scored, he'd score more points, right? Carson, you're better at math than me. Am I right about that?
Yeah, honestly. And here's the thing. When we'll talk about this later on when we do the Tennessee preview and everything, but you could almost let him beat you and be fine with it. Like he could have 40 and we could still win.
Yeah.
Because if he's not going to be efficient, the 40 is not going to equate to our success offensively.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yo, Antonio Reeves should be the SEC Player of the Year. End of story, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, let's move on real quick. Talk about South Carolina. There's 2 words that I think are going to make or break this entire game, and that would be Meechie Johnson. Meechie Johnson last year in Rupp Arena, en route to a win. The Gamecocks won last year in Rupp Arena, 71-68. He had 26 points on 6 of 10 from 3. The offense runs through this guy. He's averaging, the number's gone right there, 16.7 points a game. You have to stop him. Let me run through these numbers, Carson. I'm going to run through all of them, and then we'll have a conversation about this game. They are 64th overall in the KenPom rankings. They are 66th in adjusted offense, 65th in adjusted defense. So what does that make them? Mid. They're mid. They're not there. When we say mid, folks, that does not mean they're bad. That does not mean they're great.
It just means they're a middle of the pack team.
They're mid. They're mid. Yes. I say that because Papa, I know you're listening. I don't know if you would have known what mid means. And if you do, then when I talk to you on the phone later, tell me that you do and that I'm wrong and I'm an idiot. So let me know that. But that's why I wanted to bring that up. So South Carolina is 61st in the net rankings, which means this would be a quad one win on the road if Kentucky gets the win. They are 33rd in points per game allowed to, opponents. So opponents are only scoring 64.6 a game. They're 133rd in points per game scored. They're averaging 72.9 points a game. They're not scoring a lot. They take care of the basketball. They're 57 in college basketball, turning the basketball over only 10.6 times a game. But, we talked about this before we hit record, Carson. If literally that 10.6 went down to like 10.2, they'd be like 28th in college basketball. So like they're a top team when it comes to taking care of the basketball. How did Boone get downstairs? I don't even know how that happened. But 11.4 offensive rebounds a game. That is really the numbers on this South Carolina team. Carson, what do you have to say about this game?
Yeah, I got some numbers for you as well. And these are Kentucky numbers. So Kentucky now leads the SEC in every offensive statistical category. So points per game were first, 91.6. Field goal percentage were first, 50.3. 3-point percentage were first with 40.2. We're shooting 40% from three. That's crazy. Yeah. And assists per game, we lead with 18.9 assists. So all those numbers are electric. Those are all first. Those aren't mid-tier numbers. In my opinion, based off of looking at South Carolina's numbers and looking at their size, and they do have a player his name's BJ Mack. He's 6'8", 270. He's a tank. Yeah, he's gonna need some oxygen to get up and down the court a couple times.
So would we.
Well, we would, but we're not playing against Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd. And
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, we didn't sign up for that. Mack. Yeah, we didn't sign up for that. But I just think that there, as much as Meechie Johnson can help them, I just don't see a way that they're going to be able to stop us. Especially now with Big Z in the fold, because Big Z, he looked really good rebounding the basketball too. Like he had good position on almost every shot. And that's huge coming from him because he's 7'3", of course. He's got an 8-foot-something wingspan. Like he's going to get to the ball first. So with South Carolina being a little undersized in that aspect, I think if Kentucky can win the rebounding advantage, I think it could be a 10-plus point win. And that would be huge because a quad one win helps us tremendously right now.
Yes, it does.
I think a lot of people are skeptical on us just because of the UNC Wilmington loss and just we don't have very many quad one wins. What do we have? 2?
The Miami. I'll pull it up for you. The Miami win is obviously no longer a quad one win.
Yeah. I think it's 2.
I think that who would the second be? I'm blanking.
Carolina.
We're 2-2 in quad one games. So Texas A&M, because it was on the road, is a quad one loss.
Is Florida not one?
Florida has to be. I mean, they just have to be a top 75 net team.
Yeah.
Florida is. Can't find them. Maybe they're higher. Let me see. Florida's 45th in net. So North Carolina and Florida are the 2 quad one wins. Kansas and Texas A&M are the 2 quad one losses.
Yeah, and let me throw a little take out there, a little hot take. My opinion, I think if Big Z's eligible the whole season, I don't see a loss on our schedule right now. I really don't, because in the A&M game, they were undersized, and I think his size helps us get a lot more of those rebounds.
Yeah.
And then I think against Wilmington, we didn't have DJ Wagner either that game. So you got to think you're missing your best point guard and you don't have a 7'3" skilled center. That's a win at home. And then against Kansas, I mean, Z can combat with Hunter Dickinson. He can battle with that dude. So I really don't think that we have a loss on the schedule. I know it's crazy to say, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but that's just based off the eye test and what he brought in the first game. Even if he doesn't replicate that in the next game, just the threat of having him available would have changed those games, in my opinion.
Here's the deal. They definitely, with Big Z, and we'll add DJ Wagner to the whole, if they have him for the Wilmington game, they win those games guaranteed, A&M and Wilmington. The Kansas game would take a little more convincing on me for me, just because I think Hunter Dickinson is just a big guy. But yes, I it's an easy argument to make. I agree with you.
We also didn't have Bradshaw that game either.
Yes, no, so you had no size. That's a good point too. Yeah, it's not
Or
hard to
you
talk you into
go.
that.
Or
No,
you
yeah,
go. We didn't have all
anybody.
3 of our 7-footers.
Yeah, it was
Now
just
that
Trey
I'm
Mitchell.
thinking about it.
Yeah, it was just Trey Mitchell down there.
Yeah.
Who's giving up a lot of size and weight. But I think, I mean, we got to wrap this up, Carson. But I just think that it's plain and simple. This is a good SEC basketball team. They are not great. They are not bad. They're good on the road. Always scary. I don't care if you're playing Vandy. I don't care if you're playing. I was going to think of an analogy, but one's not coming to me right now. I don't care who you're playing. If you're on the road, I'm not excited about it. You are playing South Carolina on the road.
In a blackout.
Is it okay? I hadn't seen that.
Yep.
I figured, but I hadn't seen it. You just can't let Meechie Johnson go for 90 points. You know what I mean? He can't go for 40 or 35. Can't let that happen. I think if you just take care of him, score. Here's the deal. If they score their average and we score our average, we win by almost 20 points. You know, just score your average and you'll win this game. It's pretty simple to me. Score 90 points, you win this game, I think. So that really is it to me. Carson, do you want to give me a final score prediction and MVP, and we call it a day here?
Yeah, so I'm going to go Kentucky. I'm going to say they beat their average again. They're going to go for 95. And remember, last time I called over the century mark, and we got there.
And I called you crazy.
Yeah. I think
they could have scored 125. I mean, they kind of scored.
Yeah, they could have scored a 130 if they were just kept playing the last 8 minutes. But I think we get 95, and I think Carolina gets to 80. I think we win by 15 points. I'm going to go player of the game. I'm going to go DJ Wagner. I think DJ shows up in a road game. I think he takes care of Meechie Johnson. I think he puts a little pride on it. I think he gets the job done, and he has another great game. And I think Big Z he won't replicate what he did last game. I mean, if he does, people are going to lose it. But I don't think he'll replicate it. I think he'll give us about 75% of what he gave us.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it. I'm going to keep underselling us offensively and hoping it leads to us exploding. But I have Kentucky winning this game 89-76 on the road in Columbia. The MVP for me, I think he's going to bounce back. I think Rob has a big game. He's been pretty consistent, and when he's not had many bad games, but when he does, he bounces back.
I was going to say, when he has a bad game, normally the next game he goes for over 20. So
I think Rob has a good game. I think Kentucky wins this game 89-76, moving to 5-1 in SEC play. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, you got 2 road SEC games this week. Tough cards you got dealt, but you got to go 2-0. Got to go 2-0. No debating, no thinking about it. You have to go 2-0. So, Carson, anything else before we call it a day?
No, hit that like button, subscribe. I'd like to thank everyone. We hit 100 subscribers. So shout out to everyone subscribed. That's pretty awesome. We want to continue to grow this channel. We have some really cool ideas and awesome stuff for the future. So continue to show support. We're very thankful for all of you, every single one of you. Even if you just view the video, we're very thankful for you. So do that. Leave a comment. Tell us who you think the MVP is going to be in the final score. And I'm going to say one thing. I think this is the year. I think we get 9. I'm going to have all my chips on the table. Something special is about this team. This is the year we do it.
I agree with you. I really do. And you know me, I'm a realist. I am not a guy who says something to say something. I think this Kentucky team will win the national championship. And that's coming from someone who does not just say things to say things. So there you go. Like Carson said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for 100 subscribers. Really cool to see that. And then, I do all the writing and editing over Wildcats Today, so go check that out. A lot of cool stuff over there.
Give them a read.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Go check all that out. We will see y'all on Friday reacting to the hopeful win over South Carolina and previewing the Arkansas game. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day today and enjoy the game. We will see y'all later.